G'day! In today's video I'm discussing the topic of am I being tracked on my iPhone or on my Android phone? It's a question that I've been getting asked a couple of times in the last few weeks, with more and more people being a bit paranoid about privacy, where people have been saying that other people, I'm not sure if it's the messages or the GPS locations that they're concerned about, but the previous one said I purchased an item, purchased a coffee from a coffee shop, and next minute there was money transferred into their bank account from someone that they don't want to have any contact with. And it said it was for a coffee, which they said that the timing of it was that bizarre, it was like they were tracking them. And I said to them, well, you've got an iPhone, do you have iCloud? Do they have your iCloud details? Do they have another one of your older devices that still may be signed in? And looked up in settings, and this person had about 6 different Apple devices, only 2 of which were currently in their possession. And I said to him, well, if this person potentially has one of your older devices that's still signed in, they could use Find My iPhone to get that. Which I find, when people think of tracking, they think that someone's installed a malicious bit of software into their phone, remotely, done it hidden, or got the control of the device, temporarily put and installed something, made it hidden, have it running in the background. I find in 2022 that is not necessarily the case. Granted, I find that the sheer chance of someone actually doing that is slim to none, being that, for example, people have Facebook. With Facebook, if your account's not set to private and you don't want people knowing what you're up to, simply don't tell the world what you're up to, or if you must, only have it so your friends can see it, or have it set to private. If you have it so the whole general world can see what you posted 10 minutes ago, well, of course they're probably going to be able to figure out where you are, especially if you're a very common poster. Same with Twitter and Instagram. If you're always putting up photos of what you're doing, it's probably pretty easy, especially if your account is set to public, for someone to follow you that you don't want to be followed. Also, I find with this as well, Snapchat. I believe I don't use Snapchat myself, but the last I used of it, people were talking about the Snapchat locations where you were getting shown to friends of where you are. I'm also assuming that that could be set to public, where anyone can see where you are, which, if you're worried about privacy and being followed, definitely do not use or disable or check out the privacy settings of all those social media apps that you're using. It might not necessarily be a malicious bit of software installed, but it might be that you're utilising... My fat cat's decided to say hello. So I find that it's not necessarily a dodgy bit of software installed. It might be that you've signed in on a common computer, Facebook. A friend of a friend's computer. You may have used that, signed into Facebook, and all of a sudden they're reading all your private messages. You mightn't have actually realised that you've done that. So it's definitely worthwhile checking out the privacy settings on various apps and making sure you're signed out of devices that you don't use social media on, as I find that's probably the more common way of you being tracked. I do know I'm kind of repeating myself, but there's no real magic, or at least in the public domain, a magic geolocation device that someone can remotely do or remotely activate. I do know that there is meant to be a few out there. I can't remember what the term for it was. I can't remember what it was called, but it was essentially something that the CIA, the FBI may potentially have, and other security places to remotely access phones. Granted, the person down the road from you is not going to have that when all they do for a day job is work at a restaurant. They're not going to be getting access to such things. It's that they're hearing from a friend of a friend, they're seeing a friend's phone, or you've still left your device in settings set to public and they're viewing you from there. So if you're concerned about your privacy, concerned about being tracked, sign out of your socials that you don't need on devices you no longer access. Set your privacy setting up so your friends can only see your information. And if you don't want people to know what you're doing, don't tell. That will do for today. Bye.